Metering. In photography, this refers to the process of measuring the amount of light in a scene to determine the proper exposure settings for capturing a photograph. The goal of metering is to ensure that the image is neither too bright nor too dark, maintaining a balance that accurately represents the subject and its surroundings. In modern cameras, metering is often performed by a built-in light meter, which measures the intensity of light falling off the camera's sensor or film. The camera then calculates the appropriate combination of shutter speed, aperture, and ISO sensitivity to achieve a well-exposed image. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I'm Kris, and you're watching Kris's World. In today's episode, I want to go ahead and show you how to use metering on older Nikon cameras. And there are three different metering modes: matrix metering, center weight metering, and spot metering. And I want to go ahead and show you how each one of these works because I feel it's really important. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to my subscriber who wanted to have this video made for them. I really appreciate the question, and I really am grateful that I got the opportunity to make this video because I think it could help a lot of people. One thing that I've noticed on my channel is that there are a lot of new photographers and people that are buying older cameras, so this can really help them understand how these cameras function for whoever is new. There are a lot of experienced photographers on my channel as well, so you may not need to watch this video. And if you do find this video entertaining, go ahead and make sure you hit that like button at the bottom, and please consider subscribing to my channel. So the first mode I'd like to talk about is matrix metering mode. In this mode, it basically measures the entire scene and calculates an average exposure for the whole entire scene. And in Nikon, you have two different matrix metering modes. You have the 3D color matrix metering 2 mode, and then you also have the color matrix metering 2 mode. Now the difference is that Nikon developed a thing in their lenses to basically where you can have a D or G lens that gives the distance information and provides a better reading for the scene. Now this is important because what happens is you will actually get a more accurate metering measurement, which in turn will give you a very well balanced exposed image. Okay, so in this example, I'm going to go ahead and show you what each one of the meter settings does. And I currently have a Nikon a 28 to 80 millimeter lens f3.3, which is a G version. Okay, so I'm just setting up a quick shot just to show you example how this works. So in matrix metering, it's going to give me an overall exposure for the whole entire frame. And so I'm just setting it up, focusing, and you notice that it's in the center. I take my picture, and that's what you get. So here's the image that we took from matrix metering mode with a G Nikon lens, and as you can see, everything's pretty well exposed. You don't have any highlights that are blown out or any darks you can't really see. Everything's in the neutral zone, and I have it on the neutral zone so I can give you an exact idea of how this works. So now we're going to go ahead and switch it over to the center weight mode, and we're going to take another image to show you what this does. And as we can see, we have it in the neutral zone in the middle, and we're going to take our picture. And what I mean by neutral, I actually mean a balanced exposure. So as you can see in this image, it actually looks pretty much the same, and that is because I actually have a white background, and what's happening is the center weight is actually still getting enough light in the middle and the center of the frame to where you still have a lot of brights and it's still exposing pretty well. But that changes when you have a very dark background. I'm going to give you an idea of what happens next in our next sequence of images. But let me go ahead and show you what happens during spot metering. Now, during spot metering, you'll understand and see that when I change it to that metering mode, you can actually see the camera actually just focusing all the light in the middle of the little point, the little dot that we are actually putting our focus selection point on. And that's because the camera is basically just exposing for that little dot. And it's going to give us actually a faster shutter speed, which is pretty nice because if you need to get that extra bit of light and you need to do a macro picture or something like that, spot metering is actually a pretty good mode to use for that. Now let me go ahead and give you that image. Alright, so there's our image, and one thing you will notice right away is the image is quite a bit brighter, especially in the middle, kind of more where we had our center, or not our center point, but where we had our focus selection point, and that's because Nikon has made it so whenever you have a selection focus point, it will actually attach the spot metering, the spot on that selection focus point, so then you'll get a really nice image when you do this. Now, it is recommended that you do not use spot metering with the AFA focus system on, because what will happen is you will just have the spot metering in the middle and it will not attach itself to any selection point whatsoever that the camera picks. Now, the really nice thing about this is if you're using this for a macro image, you will get even finer detail and have more light in those little dark spaces that you can't get to. And that's what really is magical about spot metering, because in those little crevices, the little spots you're trying to get into when you're doing a macro image, or in a spot where you are maybe zooming into a subject and you only need a person's face or something, spot metering works very well for this, and it kind of just makes all the background fall to black, and it will come out really nice and give you a really cool effect. Okay, so here we have our images all put together so I can show you what came out. So as you can see, the matrix metering mode measured the whole entire scene, and it kind of just metered everything all together. Center weight, well, it looks pretty much the same. You can see that's a little bit darker in some of the edges a little bit, but it didn't change very much. And in spot meter, you could see that it changed quite a bit. Now, it all just depends on how much light you have, what your background is, and what your scenery really has in it, because that's really going to determine how much light you're going to have overall. Now, this of course will work differently in a darker setting, so I'm going to go ahead and show you also what this looks like with a black background, so you guys can see the difference in how light reacts to the setting that I have put up right here. You'll see that matrix mirroring mode does something completely different. Center weight is a little bit more centered, and you can see how the light definitely works with the metering modes, and you'll just get an overall idea of how different everything is, okay? One other thing that I want to mention is that center weight does not follow your focus selection point whatsoever. It stays right in the middle. But because I was doing a test to kind of show you everything going on, the whole setup, I didn't want to change the image because it would look like you wouldn't get the exact kind of idea of how this all works. But when you are doing center weight, make sure you do center your subject right in the middle of your frame. Now, this is good for macro images. This is also good for other things that you want in the center of your frame. That way you get that lighting effect. That way you have it working for you. Unfortunately, the metering does not follow the selection point like it does with spot metering, so that is kind of a problem, and you will have to have a different kind of composition to where your composition is always going to be in the middle of the frame. That's why spot metering is actually so nice, because you can actually have it follow your selection focus point, so that makes it so you can actually have a better composition. If this video has helped you out and you've learned something, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for future notifications when more content comes out. I appreciate all of you for being here and being a great part of this community. Now let's continue on to the video. Okay, one other thing I'd like to mention is that you can actually change your center weight space. So what I mean is that you can go into your menu and you can actually change the center weighted area to a bigger space or a smaller space. It goes from 6 to 13, or you can go to an average size, which is kind of handy in certain scenarios. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now we're on to the next part where I'm going to actually show you what everything works like when you use a dark background. So I'm going to go into matrix metering once again, and I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of the same image but with a dark background, okay? So let's see what that comes out like with this image right here. Now in this image, I used, of course, balanced exposure, so everything is balanced out, and that's the way I've done with it with all these images, to where it all just, you could see the difference. I'm not overexposing, I'm not underexposing, I do not have exposure compensation put on at all. So this is what the image actually looks like. It's a balanced image, and you're getting that with the matrix metering to where everything is exposed evenly. Now, let me go ahead and show you what center weight looks like, and I'll show you how much of a difference that makes with the dark background. Okay, so we have center weight mode, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in a balanced exposure, and I'm going to take my next image. And here's what that image is going to look like right now. Now, as you can see, center weight decided to actually brighten up the subject quite a bit more and a little bit of the background. So what it did is absorb the light more, and it gave me a better exposure setting. It made it so I had a faster exposure, but it was only in a certain area of the center weighted area, which was really nice because you can actually absorb more light and forget about some of the outside. So imagine if it were a vignetted image, your image would basically have all that light in the center, not so much in a center point, but more in the centralized area of your image and not so much around the frame. So that really does help when you're trying to get more shutter speed in a darker situation. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and use the spot metering mode, and I'm going to balance out my exposure so that then you guys can get the idea of how this thing is working. And here is that picture. So this image is a little bit brighter, and that's because what's happening is the spot metering is actually in one little central area on the frame compared to the wider area of central weight and matrix metering. So what's happening is that you are able to expose for the small little tiny area, which means in turn you will get a faster shutter speed, and you'll be able to get a less blurrier image in reality. So this is great. This is why this spot metering is actually great for macro photography and for fine little subjects when you are trying to frame up and get close in a little dark situation. So this is a great little method to use when you need to, and it definitely helps you get a better photo. Okay, so here are all the images all combined so you guys can see what happened during each metering mode. So you have matrix metering exposed for the whole subject once again with a dark background. You had center weight mode, which exposed for the smaller area, but it did make the background a little bit brighter. And then you had spot metering, which really what happened was it centered in one small spot, but if you look, it actually created a lighter background as well. And what happened was you had a faster shutter speed because you were only exposing for a very small area. So that's something you guys can think about when you're using these different modes. Okay, so we have this image right here that I was able to take. It was so dark at night, and it was just a really non-lit area. Like, I had some lights, but not a lot. The most light I had was from this movie theater and maybe a couple street lights. But I was able to use the center weight setting, and by doing this, I was able to actually capture more light than I would have using matrix metering mode. Because when I use center weight, what it does, it absorbs less. It absorbs more light from a smaller area. So I was able to shoot this photo with ISO 200, 1/80th of a second. I did use exposure compensation of 0.07, and I used an f-stop of f.4 with a 24mm lens. That is key when you're shooting at night too, is you want to use a very fast lens to go ahead and give you that extra space, that extra room to play around to try to get some of these cool images. Alright, well that's it for this tutorial. If you guys liked it, please make sure you share it with a friend and tell others about this so they can know how to use the metering functions on their Nikon camera. If you guys like this video, please make sure to hit that like button and please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me a lot. I really thank you guys for watching and checking out this video, and I hope you're all doing well. Please take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. If you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel to get notified when new videos get posted. Thank you for watching this video. Please consider checking out some of the other videos on the links at the end of this video.